Okay, the Alabama locker room is now open, and joining us up here today are Mark Sears and Jahvon Quinerly, and we'll just take your questions. Please raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. We have a question here in the middle.
For Jahvon, is this a little bit of maybe deja vu from 2 years ago playing Maryland in the second round? And what do you kind of remember about that game and how y'all shot from three?
Yeah, it is kind of. It's kind of crazy, actually. You know, that was a really good game, though. I think we were in Indiana, and you know, we shot really well from three. I remember JP, you know, kind of started it for us, and you know, guys were really making shots, and we were probably playing our best basketball this season at that point.
Far right.
Ryan Hennessy, NBC 13 in Birmingham. For Jahvon, just being in Birmingham, what have you guys done to try to not focus fully on just March Madness, trying to have fun around the hotel and stuff? What has Birmingham treated you guys like these past few days?
I think we've just been, you know, for the most part, hanging out in each other's rooms, playing video games and things like that, watching film, recovery with our trainer Clark. So those are some things.
Far back, Chris.
Mark, I know it's not like a regular season game where you may have a larger allotment of tickets for family and friends, but got a lot of folks coming down to see you from North Alabama?
Yes, sir, I do. I have a lot of folks coming.
Front.
For Jahvon, just playing in Birmingham, does it feel more like at home, or does it, you know, or is it just the same as any other tournament game because you're not necessarily sleeping in your own bed and all that?
No, it does kind of feel like home. I think yesterday there was a lot of crimson in the crowd, and you know, that's always a good feeling. And yeah, I feel like, you know, it's more of a home type vibe, right down the road from T-Town. So
Back here in the middle.
For either player, what was kind of the reaction from the team of having the late tip, and is that something y'all would prefer? Would y'all rather kind of get the game over with early in the day?
We haven't really spoke about it as a team yet. You know, the late tips are tricky, but you know, I think we'll be ready to go.
In the back.
Hey guys, Ben Reitman, WMUC Sports. What are your early impressions about Maryland, and what are you guys looking to do to stop them on the offensive end?
Maryland's a pretty good team. Very physical. You know, they play in a really good conference. You know, from what we've seen so far on film, you know, those guys are gonna come ready to play, and you know, they're coached by, you know, a really good coach in Kevin Willard, and you know, we're just looking forward to, you know, tomorrow night.
Right here, to your left.
And Jahvon, you've played against Maryland in the tournament before 2 years ago. What do you remember about those guys that are still around, Dante Scott and Keem Hart? What challenges may they present to you guys?
I'm pretty sure those guys are going to play with a chip on their shoulder tomorrow. Those are two really good players, and you know, that's what I've been telling the team. Like, you know, these guys are, you know, they're going to be ready to play. So we got to, you know, bring the energy.
Right here up front.
For both players, just with all the shakeup in the South bracket, does that kind of put you guys on a heightened awareness of you know, upsets can definitely happen?
I think we've just been taking one game at a time. We haven't really been looking forward too much. You know, we're just kind of focused on Maryland.
Very back.
Mark, I know you didn't have the overall shooting tournament you wanted in Nashville, but you had the huge three at the end of the second game, and then the three to start the next game that got things going for your squad. How much did those positive experiences help you with what we saw yesterday from you?
It was good to see the ball fall in those key moments, and that led to me having a great start here in Birmingham.
Any more questions in the back?
I'll stop after this, I promise. JQ, you seem to love the big stage. It's where you seem to have the most fun. 2 years ago, that was the case, and yesterday, and obviously what you did in Nashville as well. What's different in playing in a venue like this as opposed to maybe anything else you play in the regular season?
It's a good question, my guy. I feel like, it's just a different feeling in there. I've been saying it all week. Like, when March come around, it's a different feeling in the air. Just the tension when you walk into practice or into film. Like, it's just a different feeling. And, it's just an amazing time of the year. All year my teammates just been pumping confidence into me. And they've been telling me, like, we're going to need you. We're going to need you. Postseason plays coming. And, I just feel like I kind of answered the bell. And, I'm just around a great group of guys who just push me. And, they're a young group, but, he's really my guys. And, I give all the credit to my teammates because they always pushing me, even when I was struggling.
Far right.
Speaking of confidence, Brandon didn't have any points, and I know there's nursing a groin injury. What have you said, JQ, to him? He's still a freshman. This is his first time in the NCAA tournament, to try to keep him, because you're definitely going to need him down the stretch.
Yeah, I just told him, hold his head. I like the way he handled it yesterday. He handled it like a true professional. And, I told him, look, we're going to need what you've been bringing us all year tomorrow night. And, I'm 100% confident he's going to bring what he's been bringing us all year.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
You did. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, we're ready to begin. Please raise your hand and we'll get you a mic. And we're going to start here to our right.
Hey, Coach. Charlie Potter, BOL. I talked to Nick in the locker room. He's talked about how he's changed his free throw shooting technique. Just have you seen them improve with that and just improve overall over the course of the season?
Yeah, he had been making them after we kind of helped change it up. You know, Brian works with our bigs. He had him making them at a high clip. You know, you kind of see he's kind of putting his hand under to get the correct, and then I feel like the more we had him doing a lot of one-handed stuff, he kind of had this side spin where he kind of had both thumbs in. Well, when you take the other hand off, takes the thumbs out of this situation. He had been making them. Hopefully we make him better than 3 of 7. If he could have made, you know, one more free throw, he'd had a 2015 game, which is pretty impressive. 19-15 still pretty impressive, but happy for the way Nick played. You know, I think Brian does a great job with our bigs. They need to make some free throws for us, though. So in practice today, after this, we'll make sure we get some free throws in.
Back here in the middle.
Hey, Coach. Joey Blackwell, BannonCentral.com. This is kind of a deja vu because you guys played Maryland in the second round of the tournament 2 years ago. They have a couple of players still left on their roster. You guys have Jahvon Quinerly from that team. Just wondering, what do you remember from that game, and are there any takeaways that you're using to kind of teach your team about Maryland this year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely remember it. It's a lot different. That was in the bubble. They had different coaching staffs. The style of play is different. But it is Maryland, and they do have some players that were still there. So we did refer back to that game and referencing some of their players. Dante Scott, very good player. So Quinerly remembers, you know, we shot the ball really well that game. If I remember correctly, I haven't gone back and watched it just because with the short turnaround, there's enough stuff I need to look at with the current coaching staff and current roster. I haven't watched that game, but if my memory serves me correct, we shot it really well and opened it up. You know, it'd be great if we shot it that well this time, but they're a really good defensive team. They're a really well-coached team. Coach Willard's done a great job. You know, the players that they currently have, some of who played in that last game are tough. And there's not a whole lot that you can take away from that, but it is ironic that 2 years later we get them in the second round again.
Right here up front.
Hey, Nate. James Benedetto with Tide Illustrated. 2 questions, if I may, about Nick. Just, you know, when yesterday happens, I know he's been a huge spark plug off the bench. Is that just something that you were just glad to see him do? And, you know, when you were recruiting him from Dodge City, was this something that you hoped that he would be able to do when he got to Alabama? Yeah, when we recruited him, we thought he could be an athletic, you know, kind of go with Charles, a little different. Charles, great protecting the rim. Nick's super athletic, switchable, and we haven't used him as much in switching 1 through 5, but we kind of, I mean, he's been good. He's gotten a lot better playing against Charles every day in practice. You know, he's got 3 years still because the 1 year he had played was a COVID year. So, you know, we still have him for 2 years after this. I think he's going to be great. You know, he's got pretty good skill. He plays really hard. He's athletic. I was really happy to see him play well in an NCAA tournament game because there's been games where he hasn't played much at all. You know, and he's gotten frustrated, as all really good players would, without playing a lot, but he's handled it well. He just kept getting better. So, you know, happy to see him play, happy to be able to rest Charles a little bit, and hopefully you can build on that, get some confidence going when we need him. He's got a lot of confidence to play well for us.
Coach, I want to ask an update on Brandon, the injury-wise, and what's the confidence level going forward that he's going to be, even tomorrow for fans, full force? Yeah, so Clark, our trainer, is, I think, best trainer in the business. Me and him talked about it today. He's gotten treatment already this morning, got it last night, going to get a lot more this afternoon. We're holding him out of anything live in practice today. Not that we're doing a whole lot of live stuff with the game yesterday and one tomorrow. You know, he'll shoot and do some non-live stuff. I think he's going to be all right. I mean, we seemed like he was moving all right. It obviously bothered him. You know, he didn't shoot it particularly well, but he seemed like he was moving decent. So we just got to get his confidence back that he can play with it. So, you know, hopefully all the non-live stuff he does today in practice, he can get to where he's moving well, shooting it well, and then be ready to go. I mean, he's obviously wasn't one of his better games, you know, to open, but I think
knowing Brandon, how tough he is, physically, mentally, I think he'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Back here in the middle.
Mike Rodak with AL.com. Kevin Willard said that this is the most talented team that he's seen since Kentucky in the mid-'90s, just in terms of being long and athletic and good point guard play. Just what do you remember about that team from watching them, and what do you think of that comparison?
So, I mean, Kevin's been around basketball a long time. His dad was a great coach coming up. I haven't heard that comparison. You know, I've gotten to know Coach Pitino a little bit, playing them last year. That was a really talented team. You know, thanks for the comparison. I don't know though if I should be saying thanks. It's a lot of pressure on you too. That team was good. I'd like to know how many pros were on that team. Was that the mid-'90s Kentucky? Is that Ron Mercer, if I remember right? Antoine, yeah, they had some like NBA All-Stars on that team. So, look, we definitely have some depth to us. I can say that. You know, I don't know if we'll have, was it 7 or 8 guys that went to the NBA from that Kentucky team? I don't know if we have that. I hope we do. That'd be great for our players if we had that many be able to play in the NBA. But, well, I'll say this. I can't. That was back when I was really getting into basketball. I mean, I graduated high school in '93, so that would have been like when I was in college watching a ton of basketball and remembering all those games. But about our current team, we're deep, we're long, we're athletic. We definitely have multiple point guards in Quinerly, Bradley, and Mark Sears can play it, and you can move Brandon to the point too. So thanks for the comparison. I think he's also trying to talk our team up to his team. I don't know if we're quite that good. So we'll see. He's got a really good team too, and he's done an unbelievable job since he took over that program and just their toughness. And I mean, they're good. So we're going to have to play. I'll say this. We're going to play a lot better on the defensive end tomorrow than we did yesterday.
Talking to some of the players in the locker room, there was a sentiment that the one thing that stuck out about Maryland is their physicality and the physicality of the Big Ten as a whole. And another thing they mentioned was having played Michigan State earlier in the year might have helped prepare your team for this game. Do you feel the same way about that and about Maryland's physicality?
You know what? I mean, the Big Ten's a physical league. Michigan State, I spent 11 years in Michigan. Went to a ton of Michigan State practices. They were physical. I mean, Tom Izzo's, I saw a little video clip of him snapping a whiteboard today. They're going to bring some intensity to the game. They follow their head coach's lead a little bit, more than a little bit. So, you know, I think Coach Willard's got some intensity about him and some toughness about him. I think his teams have always been tough, and they play in a tough league. So we're going to definitely see a physical team, and I think playing against Michigan State early in the year certainly helped with that. I'll tell you what, UConn's a physical team too. We played both those teams in the same tournament. Playing both those teams, I think, helps with seeing a physical team. Tennessee in our league is very physical. So, you know, it's not as if the Big Ten's got all the physical teams in the country on it, but they definitely play a more physical brand of basketball. So between Michigan State, Tennessee, Texas A&M plays physical. You know, we played some tough, hard-nosed physical teams already this year, and I think it'll be good for us in preparation for this game.
Here to your left.
Adam Winkler, KTRK out of Houston. Kelvin Sampson has told us about your relationship. It goes back to when I guess he recruited one of your players when you were in high school back in coaching in Detroit. Obviously, y'all are on opposite sides of the bracket, and you've got your own stuff to worry about. Do you guys maybe even share anything about his matchup tomorrow with Auburn? And if not, maybe do you give him any advice to maybe woo in some Alabama fans that might be rolling into the arena early tomorrow that'll probably be rooting for the Cougs?
Listen, Kelvin's one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. He's been that. I mean, when I was a high school coach, he's Washington State, Oklahoma, I remember. I think there was a video out on his kind of 4-high offense at Oklahoma. He was great. He's got videos out on all his competitive drills. I read them all. So I was fortunate enough to become friends with him. Nowhere near the coach he is yet, but I've got a little ways to go yet. He's got a few years on me. But we have not talked about Auburn. You know, you typically make it a practice not to share scouts and all that on teams within your league. So, you know, and you like your league to do well. You know, we pull for the SEC teams. Obviously, I'm a little torn in this one because I do have a personal relationship with Coach Sampson. We've played them throughout the year. They're tough. They're physical. They play a great brand of basketball. You know, when I was in, I go to the Final Four every year. When it was last time it was in Houston, I went over and visited with them and their staff and just talked basketball. Tried to learn from him, learned a lot. He was gracious enough to share with me, a young coach. So he's been great to me. I'm going to pull for him. Most games every time we're not playing for them. This one's a little torn here. But you're probably right. I'm sure there'll be some Roll Tide fans cheering for them. There'll probably be some Roll Tide fans cheering for the SEC too. I don't know which way it'll go. So I'd like it if during our game we could get all the SEC fans cheering for the SEC team in the game.
We're going to go to Zoom now, and Christopher Heidel is online.
Hi, Coach. This is Chris Heidel from Herbertson Radio in Baltimore, Maryland. Thanks for taking my question. I know you play in the SEC. What does Maryland look like in the SEC? Do they look like a familiar team that you see a lot in the SEC, or are they different?
They're a little different, but I'm going to be honest with you. You know, they're tough, they're physical, they don't play nearly as fast as we do. You know, you think about some of the tougher, more physical, hard-nosed teams in the SEC. You know, Tennessee comes to mind. You know, they actually run some similar actions to Tennessee too, to be honest with you. Texas A&M doesn't do it the same as they do necessarily defensively, but they're both kind of tough, physical teams. I know A&M didn't play one of their better games last night, but they've been pretty good all year, at least in conference play. You know, and Mississippi State's won a little bit. I mean, they've got, a good big that they kind of play a little bit more inside out, some sort of that way with Mississippi State. But there's definitely some teams in our league that you could compare them to. Nobody exactly, there's no two teams exactly same anyways, but we see a pretty good blend of basketball in the SEC now with different style of coaches. Some play faster, some play more slow. Some, pound it inside more. Some are more, Missouri's obviously more perimeter oriented, play a little bit more like us, wide open, shoot a lot of threes. But there's plenty of teams in our league now that play similar to Maryland, and I think those are a few of them.
Right here up front.
Nate, how have you seen Brandon? You mentioned his mental toughness. How have you seen him handle the enormity of everything that's gone on this year?
I mean, he's a really good kid that I think's done a really good job handling a heartbreaking situation that we all know is just, it's very tough. So, we've seen him show his mental toughness throughout the year. I think we've all seen it.
Brendan Quinn with The Athletic. Two quick ones if I can. On Brandon, if he's limited in any way, how does that limit you?
He's obviously been our most talented, best player all year. If he's not able to go at 100%, he's probably still a pretty good player at 75, 80%. Hopefully we can get him playing better than he did yesterday. If he just, he told me in the second half, like, if you don't need to put me back in, don't put me back in, like it's hurting, so I didn't. So I think he'll be smart enough to know if he can go or not, and help us. If he can't, the good thing about our team is we got a lot of depth. Amari Burnett played great yesterday. He's got, he's not 6'9", but he's got a 6'9" wingspan and can give us, he's been great on defense. He did an unbelievable job. As we talked about Houston, he did a great job on Sasser when we won at Houston. Rylan Griffin's been playing good for us. We do have some long athletic wings, none of them quite as long as Brandon. We can also go a little smaller. And when we beat Auburn at our place, we're down 17 with 9.5 minutes to go in that game. We went with Jahvon Quinerly, Mark Sears, Jaden Bradley lineup, kind of spread them out a little bit more, went with all 3 guards and rode with it through that in overtime. So we've got different options. Pray we don't have to go to all those. I hope he's good enough, healthy enough to play. You know, based on how much work him and Clark are putting in, I think he will be. But definitely would limit us. I mean, shoot, might be the best player in the country. It'd be nice if we had him.
And I'm guessing Maryland's going to probably try to keep this thing to like 58 possessions or something. How do you impose your pace and do it your way?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a battle of tempo. They'd like it to be slower. We'd like it to be faster. They've got a press that they use that if you attack it the right way, I think you can speed the game up. If you don't, it can slow the game down. They're going to try to press in a way that slows the game down, and we're going to try to attack a press in a way that speeds the game up. I'll say this, we're not a team that plays fast based on pressing and gambling on defense. It's not how we do it. We stay solid on defense. If you want to milk the shot clock and you want to end up in the last 8-10 seconds of the shot clock every time down and end up having to take a tough shot, we're content with letting you do that because we feel like, and we looked at all the numbers, we've got analytics and all, like the later it gets in the shot clock, the worse your efficiency gets. So we're content with teams playing late in the shot clock with us on defense. We're not going to gamble and give you something easy just to speed the game up on defense. So teams are able to slow it down on their offensive end, maybe a little bit more. But when we get a rebound, we're out, and we're trying to score in the first 6 seconds of the clock, as long as it's a good shot. So we're going to keep the pace as much as we can going our way on offense without doing anything different on defense. So we play Missouri, we may end up with 85 possessions. We play a team like Maryland that wants to play really slow. I hope it's not 55, but somewhere in the middle, if it could be 70, that we'd be all right. So we're definitely trying to play fast. They're trying to play slow, and it's going to probably, to be honest with you, meet somewhere in the middle on this one.
Up here to your left front.
Nate, we've seen teams like Furman and Princeton, pull upsets already in the first round. Is there anything you're sharing with your players about, keeping the mentality going, especially with you're playing lower seeds?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that I was at Buffalo, and we were the underdog. We were 14 seed playing a 3 seed in Arizona. We were, obviously, our last year there, we were 6 seed. My first year when we made the tournament, we were 13, I think, when we played Arizona as a 4. We were 14 my first year, getting played in Miami. So we've been on the other side of this. And we kind of try to tell them what the mentality of the other side is. I mean, they're kind of in a no-lose situation. They're going to play loose. Shots are going to go in. They got nothing to lose. It's how we were. So we got to play hard. We're not trying to put any extra added pressure on. I'm sure they've got enough pressure. We want our guys to play as loose as they can. But, yeah, I mean, shoot, they're watching games. I was hanging out with them. They got their phones out watching the end of it's March Madness. Everybody that's a basketball fan's glued to a TV set. Shoot, when I was a teacher, I made sure those were the days we had worksheets to do so I could leave the TV on. So everybody's watching these games. Our players are watching them. They're in the locker room right there. We had games on. They all watched the end of the Xavier-Kennesaw State game. I mean, it's a great time of year to be a basketball fan, and we're fully aware that there's upsets, and we told our guys we're going to be the favored team. I mean, if you're the number 1 overall seed, you're supposed to win every game out. Well, we go through how you give up upsets. You give up uncontested threes. You let teams score in transition on you. You give up second chance points. We lost the second chance battle yesterday. We talk about margin plays, second chance points, transition points, points at the free throw line. We didn't do a great job winning the margin games yesterday. We got to do a lot better job of that tomorrow. So we've talked to the team about a lot of that stuff.
Last question here to the right.
Coach, we've got a unique situation tomorrow. Both Auburn and Alabama back-to-back 2 games in the second round. Auburn plays first. The fans can stay. Maryland is trying to recruit the Auburn fans, saying we'd love for them to root against you guys. You anticipate that being in this state?
Some will, I'm sure. They can't help themselves. Is what it is. I'll say this. For our league, I told you, I'm pulling for the SEC. I mean, it's, I want the SEC teams to do well. I think we need it for our league. I think NCAA tournament success bodes well for the league. Our leagues, the basketball in the SEC's got significantly better here lately. We've got a lot of pros coming out of this league. We play a great brand of basketball. We need to get some NCAA tournament success. So hopefully they're smart enough to know that they should be pulling for the SEC. What's good for the SEC is good for Alabama. What's good for the SEC is good for Auburn. So roll Tide. SEC, let's cheer for the SEC teams. But some people can't help themselves, I'm sure. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.